The hall was dressed in white and gold. Every chair, every flower, every shimmering candle flickered with one purpose: to celebrate what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. And yet, standing there in a tuxedo that suddenly felt 2 sizes too small, I had a strange feeling clawing at the back of my mind, like a warning whispered too late. My name is Cole Walker. I'm 29, the founder of a fast-growing tech consulting firm in San Francisco. And until this morning, I believed I had everything a man could want: success, friends, and most importantly, a woman I was ready to build my future with. Her name was Vanessa Monroe, beautiful, sharp-tongued, and impossibly magnetic. We met 3 years ago during a corporate networking event in downtown LA. She wasn't just the kind of woman who turned heads. She made you forget anyone else was in the room. And when she agreed to marry me, I thought I had won. "Cole, have you seen Vanessa?" My best man, Tyler, asked, his voice low, almost cautious. He was scanning the room like a man searching for a ticking bomb. "She's probably finishing her makeup," I said, forcing a smile. But the tightness in my throat was starting to rise. 10 minutes passed, then 20. The ceremony should have started by now. Then came the whisper, the kind that travels like disease in the air. A bridesmaid, trembling, rushed toward me, her face pale. "She's gone." My hands went cold. "What do you mean, gone?" I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. "She left with someone. I think it was Adam." Adam. Her ex. The man she swore was ancient history. The one she used to call a mistake I grew out of. I stood there in the middle of the aisle, with 200 people staring at me like I had just been gutted open in front of them. And that's when I saw her. His bride, Anna. Standing across the hall, dressed in white, trembling like a leaf. Because just like me, she'd been abandoned too. Her lips were parted in shock, tears still fresh on her cheek. The betrayal hadn't chosen sides today. That's when an idea hit me, insane, reckless, but clean. I walked over to her. "Anna," I said, trying to keep my voice level, "we can let them destroy us, or we can make them regret it." She blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" "Marry me. Right here. Right now." Anna's eyes widened like I had slapped her. "Are you insane?" she whispered, her voice trembling more from disbelief than rage. Her hand instinctively clutched the hem of her silk dress, knuckles white against the fabric. "You want to marry me? You don't even know me." "I don't need to," I said quietly but firmly. "What I know is that they didn't just betray us. They humiliated us, publicly. They didn't care about us enough to even hide it." A sharp breath escaped her lips. She turned her face, trying to compose herself, and for a moment I thought she might walk away. But then she looked at me again, not at my tuxedo, not at my eyes, but at the void behind them, and I think she saw it, the same emptiness that had just torn her apart. "What would this even be?" she asked bitterly. "Some kind of revenge stunt?" "No," I lied. "It's about dignity." We stared at each other, two strangers bound by the same knife. And then, just like that, Anna nodded. "Fine." The efficient look between us, mouth slightly open. I'm not sure." "Do it," I said flatly. The crowd didn't cheer. No music played, just the heavy silence of 100 dropped jaws and the creaking weight of shattered expectations. The vows were a blur. Anna barely looked at me. I didn't look at her either. Her voice cracked as she said "I do," and mine felt like it belonged to someone else entirely. We kissed, or rather, let our lips brush like two people obeying a script they didn't write. The applause that followed was hesitant, confused, and quickly died out. Later, after the photos no one cared to take and the toasts that didn't happen, we sat in the back of the limo in absolute silence. Her veil was pushed back, her mascara smudged, and my bow tie hung loose around my neck. Outside the tinted windows, people pointed, phones flashed. Our wedding had become a circus, and we were the clowns pretending not to bleed. "I can't believe I said yes," she murmured. "This is insane." "Yeah," I said, staring straight ahead. "But you did." That night, in the suite that had been reserved for Vanessa and me, I lay on the edge of the bed, staring at the ceiling. Anna sat by the window, still in her dress, her knees pulled to her chest. "I'm not sleeping with you," she said suddenly. "I didn't ask you to." Silence stretched again. She turned toward me. "Why'd she leave?" "Vanessa?" I chuckled once bitterly. "If I ever get the real answer, I'll let you know. All I've got now are guesses." "She never really stopped loving him, did she?" I didn't answer. "I knew Adam had secrets," she continued. "I just didn't think I was one of them." The clock ticked past 2 in the morning. She looked over her shoulder. "What happens now?" I sat up slowly. "Tomorrow we wake up and pretend we're fine. For the press, for the world, for the people who think they can shatter us and walk away smiling." "And after tomorrow?" I looked at her. Really looked. Her jaw was tight, her eyes red. But there was something fierce there, too. A flicker of pride beneath the pain. "After tomorrow," I said, "we figure out who we really married." The morning after the most scandalous wedding this city had seen in years came with a storm of headlines. "Two left at the altar, marry each other on the spot." "Power couple or PR meltdown." "Vanessa Monroe vanishes with her ex." "Cole Walker marries the ex's bride." I scrolled through the articles with dead eyes. Each photo stung. Anna's pale face, my hollow stare, the way our bodies stood rigid beside each other like strangers trapped in a contract neither wanted. "Is this going to get worse before it gets better?" Anna asked from across the kitchen island. She was wearing one of the hotel's robes, her hair tied up in a messy bun, sipping coffee like she'd done this 100 times. But the tremble in her fingers betrayed her. "Depends on whether we keep pretending," I said, setting down my phone. "Or if we want to go into hiding for the next 6 months." She snorted. "You don't strike me as the hiding type." "I'm not." She looked at me carefully, the way you examine a wound to see how deep it really goes. "Why did you propose to me, Cole? Really?" I took a long breath. "Because in that moment, watching them leave us behind like we were nothing, I needed to take something back. Control, dignity, my pride, whatever was left." Anna nodded slowly. "Same." There was a pause, then she spoke again, quieter this time. "You know, I was warned about Adam." I raised an eyebrow. "By who?" "My sister, my college roommate, even my therapist." She gave a bitter laugh. "He was charming, successful, magnetic in public. But behind closed doors, he always made me feel like I owed him something. Like love was a debt." I leaned forward. "Then why marry him?" She looked down. "Because he made me feel like no one else would want me." For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Then I said the truth. "I know the feeling." She looked up at me, surprised. I met her eyes. Vanessa made me question myself every time I disagreed with her. If I brought up concerns, she'd accuse me of being insecure. If I asked about Adam, she'd laugh and say I was paranoid. It's funny. I used to think that meant she was strong, confident, but it was something else. "Cruelty dressed in power," Anna whispered. "Exactly." There was a long silence between us, not empty, heavy. Then Anna's phone buzzed. Her expression shifted. "What is it?" She turned the screen toward me. It was a message from an unknown number, just a single photo. Adam and Vanessa sipping champagne by the beach, smiling. Caption: "Thanks for the wedding gift." I didn't blink. Anna looked like she'd been slapped. "They're taunting us," she said, voice cracking. "No," I corrected. "They're underestimating us." She stared at me. "What do you mean?" I stood up. "Let's give them a show." "A show? If they want to make this a circus, fine. But we control the spotlight." "You mean, play the happy couple?" I looked at her, firm. "No, I mean become the power couple. Make them regret walking away." She hesitated, then nodded. "Fine, but we do this my way too. No faking. No pretending we're perfect. We're broken, Cole. Let's show the world how the broken fight back." That night, our first public appearance as husband and wife was at a charity gala. The same event Vanessa and I were meant to attend together. I wore the same tux. Anna wore a sleek black dress that made the entire room turn. We smiled. We posed. We spoke with polished charm. And behind every word, Every touch was a shared understanding. This wasn't love. This was war. It's strange how quickly the world moves on when you give it something shiny. By the end of the week, headlines weren't mocking us anymore. They were mythologizing us. The Phoenix couple, how two betrayed lovers, rose from the ashes. Anna and Cole, real or revenge. Love after lies, America's new favorite pair. I couldn't tell if it made me sick or satisfied. Maybe both. We were invited to a dozen events in 3 days. High society galas, exclusive panels, photo ops arranged like chessboards. Everywhere we went, people stared. Some smiled too hard. Some whispered like we were ghosts. All of them watched for cracks. Anna handled it better than I expected. She smiled just enough, spoke just enough, wore clothes that said I am not the woman you pity. But at night, when we were back in the penthouse I now shared with her, she would shed the mask like a snake slipping out of its skin. "I used to believe in soulmates," she said one night, staring out at the skyline, barefoot on the cold marble floor. "You don't anymore?" I asked. She shook her head. "I think some people just settle for the ones who lie the prettiest." That silence again, the one we were both getting used to. I walked to the minibar, poured myself a whiskey, then paused. "You know," I said, my voice low, "I think I always knew Vanessa wasn't really mine." Anna turned, curious. "I met her at a networking event. She was bold, magnetic, the kind of woman who commanded attention. I was the quiet one, analytical, cautious. She liked that I didn't chase her, so she chased me instead." I took a sip, letting the fire slide down my throat. At first it was incredible, like I'd finally been noticed by someone out of my league. But it didn't take long before I realized she didn't want me. She wanted my discipline, my drive, my position. Anna walked closer, arms folded. "What made you stay?" I looked at her. She made me feel like if I didn't, I'd regret it forever. Anna exhaled. "I know that trick." There was a knock at the door. Unexpected. I moved first. When I opened it, Tyler stood there. My best man, former best friend maybe. His expression was stiff. "Mind if I come in?" Anna glanced between us. I nodded slowly. "Yeah, come in." Tyler stepped inside like he was entering a crime scene. "I just wanted to say, I didn't know," he said, eyes locked on me. "I swear, Cole, if I had any idea Vanessa was still talking to Adam—" "She wasn't talking," I cut him off. "She was planning." He flinched. Anna didn't say a word, just watched like a hawk. "I tried calling her," Tyler admitted. "She didn't answer. And Adam? Well, he never could handle not being the center of attention." "You think this is about attention?" Anna asked sharply. "This is about power. They humiliated us, publicly. And now they're parading it like a trophy." "I know," Tyler said. "That's why I came. I think they're planning to go public soon. A feature. Maybe even an engagement announcement." Anna's jaw clenched. I set down my glass. "Let them." Tyler frowned. "What?" I walked toward the window. "Let them burn their bridge now. All we need to do is be standing on the other side, holding gasoline." Anna smirked. "Now that's a plan." Later that night, I found myself staring at my old photo album. Vanessa and I at Lake Tahoe, her smiling like a woman with secrets. Me, arms around her waist, eyes proud and blind. I closed the book. "Cole?" Anna's voice was soft behind me. I turned. She wore a simple robe, her eyes softer than they'd been all week. "You okay?" I nodded. "Just burying a ghost." She stepped closer. "You know what I realized today?" "What?" "We didn't lose. We were set free, even if it felt like being thrown off a cliff." I smiled, bitter and real. "Yeah, but the fall still hurts." We stood there in silence, two broken people holding the edges of their pride like armor. And for the first time, I wondered if healing could ever come from someone just as hurt as you. Anna sat across from me at the dining table, fingers tapping lightly against a glass of sparkling water. She was distracted, which was unusual. We had an upcoming magazine interview that afternoon, a major profile shoot for Monarch Living. It was a chance to control the narrative. Every question would be calculated, every smile weaponized. But something was wrong. "What's on your mind?" I asked. She didn't look up. "I got an email from a private account last night." I leaned in. "And?" It was a forwarded message from Adam's assistant. "It looks like they've filed for a joint LLC." My brows rose. "What kind of business?" "A lifestyle brand. Red Rain." I laughed once. Subtle. "They've already secured sponsorship deals, clothing lines, fragrance, a book deal." I stared at her. "They're monetizing their betrayal." She nodded. "And making sure we see every second of it." It made sense now. Vanessa had always cared more about influence than intimacy, power than connection. The relationship with Adam wasn't just rekindled lust, it was branding, and the world was buying it. "Then we go bigger," I said. "We beat them at their own game." Anna tilted her head. "You want to start a business together?" "No," I said carefully. "I want to start a movement, not a reaction, something original. We stop being the victims who fought back and start being the ones who never needed them to begin with." She studied me for a long moment. "You ever consider going into politics?" "God, no," I muttered. "But I know how to win." Later that day at the interview shoot, Anna and I wore matching navy and silver. The stylist called it resilience chic. The journalist tried to corner us with questions. "How did you two find love after such betrayal? Was the wedding impulsive or destiny? Do you believe in soulmates now?" Anna surprised me by answering first. "I don't believe in soulmates," she said, smooth as glass. "I believe in people who choose each other, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." The writer looked thrilled. I looked at Anna. She didn't smile, but her gaze lingered on mine just long enough to make my stomach shift. That night, we watched the interview clip go viral in real time. Comments flooded in. People were calling us inspiring. Some said we were faking, but no one was indifferent. Tyler texted me at midnight. "You're trending. Vanessa hates it." I stared at the message, then replied, "Good, let her." The next morning, I opened my inbox to find a single message with no subject line. The sender was anonymous. The message, "Do you know who Vanessa really is?" Attached was a file, encrypted. I didn't open it immediately. I stared at it for 10 minutes before shutting my laptop. But the seed was already planted. When I turned, Anna was in the kitchen, barefoot again, wearing one of my shirts over her yoga shorts. "Something wrong?" she asked. "No, just spam." She didn't press, but her eyes followed me longer than usual. That evening, I took her to dinner, not for publicity, not for strategy, just to get away. We went to a quiet rooftop restaurant overlooking the bay. No cameras, no guests, just the two of us and a chilled bottle of wine. She was laughing, really laughing, by the second course. I forgot what it sounded like. When dessert came, she leaned in close. "Do you ever think about what might have happened if they hadn't left us?" I hesitated. "Sometimes. Then I remember that even if they stayed, we still would have been alone." She nodded. "You know, maybe this isn't a disaster." "Maybe not," I said, "but it's definitely a reckoning." We didn't kiss, but for a second I wanted to. Back home, I opened the encrypted file. It was a scan of legal documents, a restraining order filed 5 years ago. Vanessa, another man, name redacted. The charges were dropped, but the language was damning. Manipulation, isolation, emotional coercion. There were photos, too. She hadn't changed. My hands shook as I closed the screen. I heard Anna's voice from the next room. "Cole?" I shut the laptop and stood. "Coming." The next few days passed like a controlled fire, hot, quick, and requiring constant attention. We launched our first joint project. It was Anna's idea. A series of raw, unfiltered video talks about betrayal, self-worth, and healing. No scripts, no handlers. Just us in front of a camera, sharing pieces of our story. Not to sell a product, but to reclaim the narrative. It exploded. Within 48 hours, the first video hit 1 million views. Men and women messaged us. Strangers sent letters. We were called brave, real, even hopeful. But that night, as I sat on the couch watching Anna fall asleep against my shoulder, I wondered how long we could keep pretending this wasn't becoming real. The file on Vanessa still burned in my mind. I hadn't told Anna about it. Not yet. Not until I knew more. I reached out to a friend, someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year. Her name was Laura, a former colleague of Vanessa's. They'd worked together briefly on a women's empowerment initiative. It didn't end well. Laura met me at a downtown cafe, oversized sunglasses hiding wary eyes. She manipulated the whole board, she said without small talk. Had us all convinced she was a victim of corporate misogyny. Turned out, she'd been sleeping with two of the male sponsors. When we confronted her, she spun it into a harassment claim and left with a settlement. I blinked. You're kidding. No, and I have emails to prove it. Why didn't you come forward? She looked around. Because she threatened to destroy my career. And trust me, she could have. Vanessa plays the long game. She collects secrets, weaknesses, favors, and she never forgets a debt. I left the cafe with my blood simmering. Later that night, Anna was curled up on the balcony, wrapped in one of my sweaters, her face lit by the glow of the city. Something's off, she said, not looking at me. With you. I froze. You've been distant all day. I sat beside her. I met with someone, a woman Vanessa worked with. She confirmed what I suspected. Anna turned to me. There's a pattern, I continued. Vanessa manipulates people into trusting her, then uses it against them. Her public image is carefully built, but behind it, there's a trail of burned bridges. Anna was quiet. I should have seen it sooner, I added. But I didn't want to believe the woman I loved was that. I know that feeling, she said softly. I looked at her. What about Adam? Did he ever hurt you? She hesitated. He never hit me, but he made me feel small, unseen, like I was a placeholder until someone better came along. You're not a placeholder, Anna. Her eyes flicked to mine. Neither are you, she whispered. That night I didn't sleep. Instead, I dug deeper into the email metadata from the anonymous message. There was a digital fingerprint embedded, crude but traceable. It led me to a burner account hosted out of LA. I cross-referenced its activity history. Only 3 other messages had been sent from it. 2 of them were to Vanessa. The third, to Adam. They had all been blind carbon copies. It wasn't just a whistleblower. It was someone inside. I copied the data and encrypted it again. I wasn't ready to confront them. Not yet. But I knew one thing now for sure. Their little empire wasn't as airtight as they thought. The next morning, Anna and I attended a charity function at a children's hospital. It was meant to be low profile. No cameras, no press. But Vanessa was there. She wasn't smiling this time. She wore red, of course, hair perfectly styled, sunglasses pushed up on her head like a crown. Adam wasn't with her. She walked up to us like it was nothing. Cole, she said coolly. Anna? Anna didn't move. I stepped forward. You're not welcome here, I said. Relax, she said, flicking an invisible speck from her sleeve. I'm on the board. Of course she was. You look good, she added, eyes drifting to Anna. The wounded bride act really suits you. Anna stared at her. At least I didn't have to run to someone else's arms to feel important. Vanessa's jaw tensed. And I see the videos are doing well, she added, turning back to me. Careful with those. Truth has a way of catching up with storytellers. I smiled. Only if you're hiding something. She paused. Then she leaned in close. I never hide, she whispered. I just wait. And with that, she walked away. 3 days after the charity event, I got the call. It came from an encrypted number again. But this time, the voice wasn't synthetic. It was male. Sharp. Tired. Stop digging, he said. I leaned back in my office chair. I'd ask who you are, but I'm guessing you're not ready for that. Silence. Then maybe tell me why you're helping. A breath. Because Vanessa doesn't destroy people. She drains them, slowly. And Adam, he's in deeper than you know. Then the line went dead. I replayed the voice in my mind, over and over. There was something oddly familiar about it, something I couldn't place. When I told Anna, she didn't blink. Sounds like someone scared. Or someone guilty, I said. She looked at me. Do you think Adam regrets it? That was new. She hadn't said his name in days. No, I said. I think he regrets not being smarter. That night, we canceled all press. No events, no cameras, just the two of us. We sat on the floor of the living room, eating Thai food out of cartons, watching an old crime thriller on mute. Anna broke the silence first. You know, this thing between us, it started as a reaction, a middle finger to the people who hurt us. I nodded. But now, she continued, it feels like something else. I looked at her. Her hair was messy, her eyes softer than I'd ever seen them. She wasn't dressed up, she wasn't performing, she was real. And I realized I didn't just respect her, I trusted her. That scared me more than Vanessa ever had. I reached out, brushing a grain of rice from her cheek. I know what you mean. She smiled faintly. Do you ever wonder how long we'll keep pretending it's just strategy? I stopped pretending about a week ago, I admitted. We didn't kiss. Not yet. But something shifted, irreversibly. The next morning, Tyler showed up at my office unannounced. He looked nervous. That alone made me suspicious. I just got word, he said. Red Rain's about to launch a massive campaign. TV, streaming platforms, celebrity endorsements, the works. I narrowed my eyes. What's the angle? They're calling it freedom by fire, playing the victims again, reinventing themselves as survivors of toxic relationships. My jaw clenched. Tyler continued. But here's the thing. They're also preparing to drop a tell-all video. About us. He nodded. Vanessa wants to get ahead of your narrative, rewrite the timeline, paint you as obsessive, controlling. I laughed once. That's rich coming from her. She has receipts, Tyler added. Emails, texts, maybe even recordings. I went cold. She's preparing to destroy your reputation, Cole. When Anna came into the office later, I told her everything. She didn't flinch. Let her. What? She stepped closer. Let her throw the first stone. That's how we win. I'm not sure I follow. We get ahead of it, not defensively, aggressively. We own our story, flaws and all. We talk about the worst versions of ourselves before she can twist them. You want to confess? On camera? She nodded. Raw, ugly, honest. I stared at her. That's risky. So is war. That night, we filmed the first video. No makeup, no lighting tricks, just us. I looked into the lens and said, I loved someone who never existed. I ignored the red flags. I thought control was love and silence was strength. I was wrong. Anna followed. I kept choosing people who made me feel replaceable. I thought if I tried harder, they'd stay. I lost myself. I won't do that again. When we finished, the air between us felt different. Like we'd walked naked into a battlefield and came out alive. It went live 12 hours later. The response was volcanic. Some called us brave, others called us foolish, but no one could look away. And most importantly, we struck first. Vanessa didn't respond immediately, but I knew she would. When she finally did, it was with an Instagram story. One sentence. Cute, but fiction. And a link to a countdown clock, 72 hours. Anna looked at it and said nothing, but I saw it in her eyes. The war wasn't over, it was just getting personal. 51 hours remained on Vanessa's countdown clock. The numbers blinked in red on her site, mocking us with each passing second. Beneath the timer, she'd posted a message. Everyone has secrets. I just know which ones matter. I slammed the laptop shut. Anna, sitting across the room, didn't flinch. She'd been unusually quiet all morning, nursing a cold cup of tea that had gone untouched. You okay? I asked. She looked up slowly. I dreamed I was back at our wedding, the real one, only this time you never showed up. I stood and crossed the room to her. That's not going to happen. Her voice was flat. I know, but I still woke up feeling abandoned. It was a rare moment, not the strong, media-polished Anna the world loved, but the woman underneath. the one still healing, still afraid. I sat beside her, careful not to push too close. I won't pretend I know exactly what you're feeling, but I promise, you're not alone in this. She looked at me. Not anymore. By noon, I got another anonymous message. This time, no voice, just a file titled, "Read this before she drops it." Inside was a transcript of a conversation. A wiretap. Adam, arguing with someone. Adam, this wasn't the deal, Vanessa. You said we'd leave them in the dust, not build an empire off their corpses. Vanessa, grow up. Sympathy sells. They made their bed the moment they played the victim first. Adam, you're going too far. Vanessa, no, I'm going all the way, and you're coming with me. I stared at the screen, then forwarded it to Anna. Within minutes, she was pacing our home office. He's trying to pull away, she said. He's scared. Scared of her or scared of what she'll reveal? Maybe both. I nodded. He still has the chance to jump ship. If we can get to him first. Absolutely not, Anna snapped. I turned. You think I want to negotiate with the man who used me like a stepping stone? She said. No, let him drown with her. I didn't respond. She softened. I know you think we can win this smart, strategic, but part of me wants to win messy. Messy's fine, I said, as long as it's honest. That night, we decided to take one final step before Vanessa's reveal. A live stream, no filters, no edits, just the two of us talking to the world. We scheduled it for midnight, 48 hours before Vanessa's bombshell. We called it The Real Wedding Story. The chat was flooded before we even went live. Tens of thousands waiting, some curious, some rooting for us, some sharpening their knives. When the camera clicked on, Anna took the lead. I'm not perfect, she said. I've made choices I regret, but I never lied about who I was, and I never faked love. I followed. I let myself be controlled, silenced. Because I thought love meant compromise. I let people rewrite me, but I'm done being rewritten. We answered questions, real ones, hard ones. Yes, we were really married. Yes, it started out of pain. No, we didn't regret it. Near the end, someone asked, Do you love each other now? Anna paused, looked at me. I took her hand. We're learning how to, I said. Together. When the stream ended, we sat in silence. Not because we had nothing left to say, but because we'd already said the most important part. The next morning, Vanessa finally blinked. Her countdown paused, then disappeared. No video, no press release, no statement, just radio silence, until a tabloid dropped an anonymous leak. Red Rain's founders on verge of collapse? The article claimed Adam was threatening to leave the brand. That internal emails showed escalating disagreements and potential legal fallout. No sources named, but the timing was no coincidence. I turned to Anna. Did you? She shook her head. Wasn't me. Then who? That night, my phone buzzed with a message from a blocked number. Your turn. Finish it. Attached was a file, Vanessa's non-disclosure agreements, dozens of them. Former employees, former lovers, former victims, silenced, bought, buried, not anymore. The NDAs sat on the screen like ticking bombs, line after line of fine print intimidation. Silence in exchange for severance, reputation preserved through threats. Anna stared at them. Her expression was unreadable. If we publish this, I said, we'll be opening Pandora's box. She didn't blink. It's already open. This is just the part where we stop pretending we didn't see inside. But legally, I'm not scared of a lawsuit, she cut in. I'm scared of becoming like them, using pain as currency. I nodded slowly. We do this, she said. We do it right. We talk to the people she silenced. We get consent. We tell their stories, not just ours. That's when I realized something had changed. Anna wasn't just angry anymore. She was ready. We reached out to the names we could trace. 3 women responded in the first day. Former interns, employees, business partners. One of them had signed an NDA after a public meltdown in a boardroom. Vanessa had threatened her job and reputation unless she disappeared quietly. Her name was Marissa. She agreed to meet. Anna and I sat across from her in a small, neutral cafe downtown. She looked nervous but determined. "I was 24, she began, fingers wrapped tight around a chipped mug. "Vanessa told me I had potential. She said I reminded her of herself. I didn't realize that meant she planned to use me like a mirror." She paused. "She isolated me, then blamed me for things I didn't do. When I pushed back, she made me sign the NDA, said she'd accuse me of stealing intellectual property if I didn't. I didn't have the money to fight." Anna reached across the table, gently placing her hand on Marissa's. "You're not the only one." We met with 2 others that week. Their stories were different in detail but identical in design, manipulation, erasure, and silence. Always signed away with a non-disclosure clause. Each of them agreed to let us use their names and stories under one condition: the truth would be told without revenge. By the end of the week, we compiled everything into a single digital exposé, not a smear, a reckoning. And then we waited. The release hit at dawn, no tabloids, no press leaks, just a link, posted quietly on our website and social platforms. We were not the first. A personal letter from Anna and me, followed by first-hand accounts from Vanessa's past victims, screenshots, emails, contracts, statements, no spin, no drama, just facts. By noon, the internet exploded. #Vanessa exposed, #red rainfall, #break the silence. For the first time since all this began, Vanessa didn't post anything. Not a tweet, not a denial, nothing. Until late that night. She uploaded a selfie, no caption, no smile. Just a woman in full makeup, staring into the lens like she'd just come back from war. And then a second photo appeared. Adam. At an airport, alone. Vanessa wasn't with him. He was heading to New York, and Red Rain had just taken its website offline. Tyler called me the next morning. "It's done," he said. "Adam pulled out. Investors bailed. She's trying to spin it, but it's over." I didn't speak, not right away, because even in victory, there was something hollow. Later that evening, Anna found me sitting on the balcony, staring at the skyline. "She's gone quiet," she said. "She'll resurface," I replied, "but not like before." I turned to her. "Are we done? With her?" she asked. "No, with this. With revenge. With anger." She sat beside me. "I think we passed the finish line a while ago. We just didn't stop running." There was silence. Then she looked at me. Really looked. "I didn't marry you to fall in love," she said, "but I think I did anyway." My throat tightened. I reached for her hand. "I think I did too." We didn't say anything else, because finally, there was nothing left to prove. It had been 6 days since the exposé dropped. 6 days since the headlines turned from "Scorned Bride Turned Powerhouse" to "Vanessa Monroe, the Fall of a Star." No interviews, no tweets, no sightings. For the first time in what felt like years, my phone didn't buzz with notifications, and I didn't miss it. Anna and I spent those days in quiet. No staged photos, no late-night planning. Just morning coffee, soft jazz, and the kind of silence that felt earned. She was in the garden when I walked out, barefoot, coffee in hand. The air still held a chill. She wore a gray hoodie 3 sizes too big, mine, and was trimming a basil plant with alarming focus. "You planning to poison someone?" I asked. She smiled without looking up. "Just cooking. Tonight, no delivery, no cameras, just us." I like the sound of that. The doorbell rang that afternoon. It was a courier, no sender listed. The envelope was thick, embossed with a red wax seal. Inside, a handwritten letter. "To Cole and Anna, congratulations on the victory. You earned it. But just remember, ashes don't stay cold forever." Vienna read it and laughed once. Dry, bitter. That woman writes threats like poetry. "She's not done," I said quietly. "No," Anna agreed. "But we are." Still, I kept the letter. Later that night, she cooked a dinner of garlic lemon pasta and baked salmon, barefoot in the kitchen, swaying slightly to an old Motown track. I watched her, this woman I married on a whim, out of spite, out of heartbreak. And I realized something terrifying and beautiful. I loved her. Not the idea of her, not the ally, the woman, all of her. During dinner, she poured 2 glasses of wine and looked at me across the candlelight. "Do you ever think about the wedding?" she asked softly. "The real one or the fake one?" She smiled. "The only one we had." I nodded. Every now and then. "Do you regret it?" I didn't answer immediately. "I regret why we did it," I said. "But not that we did." She looked down, turning her glass. "Same." A moment passed. "I think I'm ready," she whispered. "For what?" "For the truth. For us. For a future that doesn't have to be built around someone else's ruins." I reached across the table and took her hand. "I want that too." Later, as we cleaned the dishes, the doorbell rang again. I opened it. Adam stood on the doorstep, unshaven, disheveled, not a trace of his usual arrogance. "I need to talk to you," he said. I didn't move. Anna stepped beside me. "You're a little late." "I know," he said. "But this isn't about me. It's about Vanessa." He pulled something from his jacket, a flash drive. "She's planning something," he said. "She's been in contact with people you don't want to be on the wrong side of. Investors, foreign press, people who don't care about facts, only spectacle." Anna crossed her arms. "Why tell us?" He looked directly at me. "Because she's not just spiraling. She's burning bridges behind her. And I was next." "She always planned to throw you away," I said. "I figured that out 2 weeks too late." I took the drive. "Thanks," I said. "Now go." He hesitated, then nodded. When I shut the door, Anna sighed. "I hate that he's probably telling the truth." "So do I." That night, I loaded the drive. Dozens of video clips, audio files, unreleased campaign footage, plans for a new project, the Phoenix Reborn. The branding was familiar. But this time it was different. There were names, faces, and not all of them were Vanessa's. One of them was mine. She'd been recording me, for months, secretly. Old conversations, one-sided arguments, edited audio, enough to twist, enough to ruin. And she was going to release it soon. I shut the laptop. Anna came up behind me. "What did she send?" "War," I said. "Again?" "Last time we fought to survive," I said, turning to her. "This time, we fight to end it." She nodded. No fear in her eyes, just fire. We spent the entire night watching the clips. Some were heavily edited, Vanessa's voice calm, mine raised. My words taken out of context, spliced together to paint me as volatile, possessive, cruel. There was one from months ago. I was on the phone, pacing, ranting about a failed investor meeting. She'd isolated the part where I said, "I don't care what she thinks anymore. She's dead weight." The she was a corporate partner, not Vanessa. But it didn't matter. Cut just right. It would look like I was talking about her. Like I was callous, aggressive, even abusive. Anna sat beside me, arms wrapped around her knees, eyes fixed on the screen. "She's creating her own truth," she murmured. "No," I said. "She's manufacturing it, fabricating a version of me she can sell." We sat in silence. Then Anna stood and said, "We need to end this. Not just defend ourselves. End it." "How?" She turned. With her words. "What do you mean?" Anna walked to the drawer where we kept the NDAs, the old ones from the victims we'd interviewed. She pulled out a thin USB. "This is Marissa's raw recording," Anna said. "The one she made after Vanessa's team tried to bribe her again, after our exposé dropped." I frowned. "You didn't mention that." "Because she was scared. But now she's ready." I plugged it in. Marissa's voice filled the room, calm, controlled. "Vanessa told me, truth is what people believe first, not what's real." She said she didn't need to be honest. She just needed to be faster. I looked at Anna. "You're saying we use this to discredit her before she strikes?" Anna nodded. "We show the world exactly what she does, how she builds false narratives, uses emotion as armor. We use her own doctrine against her." It was poetic, dangerous, but clean. We drafted a new video statement, not defensive, not reactionary. We titled it Fiction by Vanessa Monroe. It would go live in 24 hours. But that night, something shifted. I was in my office reviewing timestamps when my phone buzzed. A single message. "Come alone, no cameras." One night, one truth. V. Attached was a pin, a private address. Anna saw the message, read it silently. She wants to bait you, she said. I know. You're not going. I hesitated. If she has anything left to drop, I want to hear it. I want to face her. Anna stared at me, eyes hard. You owe her nothing. It's not about her. It's about finishing this. With my own voice. She turned away. But I saw it in her. The fear. That I'd walk into the fire again. That I'd come out burned. So I kissed her forehead. I'll come back. She didn't answer. I drove to the address at midnight. It was a penthouse. One of her old contacts must have let her use it. The door was open. Inside, she sat alone. A glass of red wine in one hand, her signature smirk in place, but dulled. Nice of you to come, husband, she said. I didn't sit. You're not going to win, Vanessa. She raised an eyebrow. That depends. Are we still playing the same game? You lost the moment you went after people who couldn't fight back. I gave them what they deserved, she said. They played naive, I played smart. I stepped closer. You manipulated, you lied, and now you're afraid. She sipped her wine. Afraid? No. Bored, maybe. You and Anna. You're like a bad TV show that found its heart in season 2. Predictable. Soft. I leaned in. You're not a threat anymore. You're a warning. Her eyes flared, the first crack in her armor. I came here, I said. Not to beg, not to bargain. I came to tell you. We're done. If you release those clips, we'll bury you in truth, and no one will believe your Phoenix's story. I turned to leave. Her voice followed. Do you really love her? I paused. Yes, I said. She let out a bitter laugh. Then I guess that's the one lie I didn't see coming. I walked out without looking back. By morning, the video went live. Fiction by Vanessa Monroe. In it, Anna and I didn't just defend ourselves. We broke down the tactics, showed the manipulation, the editing, the false timelines, and then we let Marissa's voice take over. Vanessa taught me that lies don't need to be true, they just need to be loud. But this time, truth got louder. It trended worldwide in 6 hours. Sponsors cut ties with Vanessa. Streaming platforms pulled old content. What was left of her empire collapsed. The final domino fell. She posted nothing. No final video, no rebuttal, no goodbye, just silence. And for the first time in months, it felt like peace. The next morning, Anna didn't speak. She stood by the window, coffee in hand, wrapped in a robe she'd never worn before. The sun cast a golden halo around her, but her expression was distant, unreadable. I approached slowly. Still angry? I asked. She didn't look at me. No. But I thought we were done giving her space in our lives. I didn't go there for her, I said quietly. I went to end it, face to face. She didn't deserve that. I did. Anna finally turned. I trust you, she said, but I don't trust what she does to you, what she pulls out of people. I nodded. She didn't win. I know. She exhaled. But I'm tired, Cole. I'm tired of waking up wondering what kind of fire we'll have to put out today. I stepped closer. Then let's stop reacting. Let's build something. Something that's just ours. She looked up, her eyes softening. Like what? Like a future. That afternoon, we drove north, away from the city, the headlines, the past. We rented a quiet cottage near a lake, no cell service, no internet, just trees, water, and silence that didn't demand anything from us. On the second day, we sat by the water's edge, feet dipped in the cold shallows. Anna skipped stones. I watched her, letting the silence stretch comfortably. I almost married Adam, she said suddenly. I used to picture our wedding all the time. Now I can barely remember what his voice sounds like. That's not a bad thing. She smiled faintly. You? I used to think Vanessa was everything I needed. Strength, confidence, beauty. But now, I can't figure out why I was ever afraid to lose her. She was a mirror, Anna said. You saw who you thought you wanted to be. And now? She reached over and laced her fingers with mine. Now we're just people. Bruised, messy, but real. That night, I found a letter on the doorstep. No return address. Inside, one line. I'm leaving the country. I'm not sorry, but I won't come back. V. There was no signature, no threat, just an ending. Anna read it in silence. I don't believe her, she said. Neither do I. But for the first time, we didn't care. We burned the letter in the fireplace. 3 days later, back in the city, Anna launched a new project, one of her own. The Reframe Initiative, a program for women who had experienced emotional manipulation, coercive relationships, and public humiliation. Real support, real recovery. It wasn't about Vanessa. It was about taking everything broken and reshaping it into something honest. She stood at the podium at the launch event, wearing a deep green dress and speaking without notes. I was a statistic once, she said. I was a cautionary tale. Now I'm a story still being written, and so are you. I watched her from the crowd, heart pounding in a way that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with pride. Later that night, as we walked home, she asked me, do you think we ever would have met, really met, without them? I don't know, I said, but I know I wouldn't trade what we have now to rewrite what we lost. She smiled. Not even the wedding? I chuckled. Maybe that. She stopped under a streetlight and turned to me. Then let's do it right. I blinked. What? A new wedding, not for them, not for headlines, just us. My breath caught. You sure? I'm finally free, she said, and I want to walk into the next chapter, wearing white with you. I didn't say anything. I just kissed her. We kept the second wedding quiet. No announcements, no live streams, no floral sponsors or press lists. Just a date circled on a kitchen calendar. Just two people who survived the storm and were still holding hands when it cleared. Anna picked a garden venue tucked in the hills just outside the city, quiet, elegant, full of lavender and old oak trees. I wore a navy suit. She wore white. No veil, no heels, just joy. Our guest list was short. Tyler, a few close friends, the women from the Reframe Initiative. Even Marissa came, in a pale yellow dress that looked like forgiveness. The ceremony took all of 10 minutes. Anna's vows were handwritten. Simple. I said yes the first time because I didn't want to be alone. I say yes now because I've never felt more seen. I had memorized mine. You taught me that love isn't found. It's built, stone by stone, wound by wound, and I'll never stop building with you. There was no choir, no doves, no staged photographs. Just tears, laughter, and the quiet kind of applause that doesn't need to be loud to be real. Afterward, we stayed late into the evening, drinking wine under strings of warm lights. People danced barefoot on the grass. For once, nothing was being watched. It just was. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't entirely alone. It started with a woman in sunglasses. She stood across the garden fence too far to recognize, watching. Then she turned and vanished into the trees. I told myself it was paranoia. But that night after we got home, there was a small white envelope on the front porch. No name, no stamp. Inside, a single USB drive. Anna stood behind me as I turned it over in my hands. You think it's her? She asked. I nodded. It's her. We brought it inside, placed it on the coffee table, and stared at it for what felt like hours. Do we open it? She asked. I don't know. She sat down. Part of me doesn't want to give her another second. Part of me agrees, I said. But the other part wants it to be done. All the way. Anna leaned back. Then whatever's on it, we face it together. When we finally opened the file, there was only one video. Low resolution, shot on a handheld cam. Vanessa. She stood on a beach somewhere. Wind in her hair, no makeup, no filter. Just her. The voice that spoke was quieter than we remembered. Slower. I don't expect this to change anything. I don't even expect you to watch all the way through. But I'm tired of disappearing without leaving a trace. She paused, looked away from the camera. There was a time I loved you, Cole. Not for who you were, but for how you made me feel. Safe, protected, worshipped, until I couldn't control that feeling anymore. Anna glanced at me, but I kept my eyes on the screen. I broke things because I thought it was the only way to matter. Destruction gets attention. Silence gets forgotten. You chose silence. I chose fire. She stepped back, wind catching her coat. I'm not sorry for all of it, but I am sorry for how much of myself I lost in the war, and how much I forced you both to lose. The video ended with a static flicker. No goodbye, just black. We didn't speak for a long time. Then Anna said, "That wasn't an attack." "No," I said. "It was a surrender." She leaned into me. "Does it change anything?" "Not really," I whispered. "But maybe it lets us breathe." We tossed the USB into the fire, watched it melt, hiss, vanish. 3 days later, we moved out of the penthouse. Anna found a townhouse near the water, small enough to feel cozy, open enough to feel new. We painted the walls together, ate on the floor, started fresh. One night, I found her in the living room, holding a dusty box. "What's that?" I asked. She opened it. Inside were the first wedding photos, the rushed, chaotic, pitiful ceremony. She pulled one out, the photo of us on the steps, shell-shocked, blank. "We were broken," she said, "but somehow, it still started something worth saving." I sat beside her. "We didn't fall in love. We climbed." She smiled. "And now?" "Now," I said, "we build." Mornings became quiet rituals. Anna would wake first. She liked silence before coffee, time to ground herself. I'd join her half an hour later, barefoot on the wood floor, still groggy, leaning into her warmth more than the coffee mug. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't loud, it was real, and that was everything. The Reframe initiative continued to grow. Anna started hosting small support groups in the community center downtown. Survivors, advocates, and women who had never told their stories before finally had space to breathe. One evening, I picked her up after a session. She slid into the passenger seat, eyes tired but glowing. "She cried," she said. "Who?" "A woman named Denise. First time she's spoken out loud in 2 years." I smiled. "That's the kind of legacy worth building." She looked at me. "And what about you? What do you want now?" I'd been asking myself the same thing. For years, my life had been about momentum, forward motion, upward motion, proving something. To Vanessa, to the world, to myself. But now, I want to create something that doesn't collapse when the noise dies down, I said. Maybe a mentorship program, maybe a foundation. She reached across and squeezed my hand. "Then let's build it." That weekend we hosted a dinner, small. Just the core people who had stayed when things got dark. Tyler, Marissa, 2 women from Anna's support group, and Laura, the old friend who first warned me about Vanessa months ago. We cooked together, laughed too loudly, spilled wine on the tablecloth. At one point, Tyler pulled out a bottle of champagne. "To strange beginnings," he toasted, "and honest endings." We clinked glasses. Anna leaned into me. "You okay?" "I think," I said. "For the first time in a long time, I am." Later that night, while cleaning the dishes, Anna found a box I hadn't seen in months, buried deep in one of the cabinets from our move. It held photos, newspaper clippings, and old USB drives, remnants of the war. She held up one of the photos, the first wedding, the fake one, her face pale, my eyes glassy. "Do we keep this?" she asked. I took it from her, studied it. "We don't have to pretend it didn't happen," I said. "But maybe it doesn't need to be on a shelf." We slid the box back into the drawer and closed it. The next morning, Anna surprised me. She'd found an old bookstore for sale a few blocks from the townhouse, run down, forgotten. But the bones were good. "I want to open something here," she said. "Books, community space, healing. A place that reminds people they're not alone." I stared at the dusty front window. "Let's do it." We bought it within the month, and we called it Chapter 2. The grand opening wasn't grand at all. A few balloons, some folding chairs, an overexcited Labrador that belonged to one of the neighbors. But people came. They browsed. They talked. They stayed. Anna stood behind the counter, smiling with the quiet satisfaction of someone who had stitched her life back together. Not to hide the scars, but to honor them. A week later, a letter arrived. No return address. Again. Inside, a single postcard. No words. Just a photo of a coastal village in southern Italy. On the back, a smudge of red lipstick. Anna stared at it for a long time. "She's alive," she whispered. "She's watching. Maybe." I took the postcard and slid it into a drawer. "Doesn't matter," I said. "We're still here." We never heard from her again. Not officially, but every so often a customer would mention seeing a woman who looked almost familiar at a cafe, a bookstore, a train station. We never confirmed it, and we never needed to. That chapter was closed. It was 1 year to the day since the first wedding, the one with white flowers, too many guests, and a bride who never showed up. And here I was, standing in the shop window of Chapter 2, watching the early morning sun spill across the sidewalk, wondering how much of that man from a year ago still lived in me. Anna appeared behind me with 2 steaming mugs. "You thinking about it again?" "I'm thinking about how fast a year can undo everything you thought was permanent," I said, taking the coffee. She leaned on the window frame beside me. "We weren't undone, Cole, just rewritten." I smiled. "You still talk like a novelist. I still believe in second drafts." The shop opened an hour later. It was quiet, like most Wednesdays. A few regulars came in. One older woman who only ever read biographies of fallen politicians, and a young couple who spent more time in the poetry section than actually reading anything. Tyler stopped by around noon. He had a box of new books and a lopsided grin. "Still not tired of pretending to be normal people?" he joked, setting the box down. Anna arched a brow. "We're not pretending." Yeah. He opened the top of the box. "You know, sometimes I think back to that day, when you walked up to her in your tux and said, 'Marry me.'" I groaned. "You're never gonna let that go, are you?" Tyler smirked. "It was the dumbest, brilliant thing I've ever seen." Anna looked at me, eyes warm. "It was the beginning of everything." That night, after closing, we walked to the marina. There was a bench near the water we liked, just worn enough to remind us that nothing has to be perfect to be meaningful. We sat without talking. The water was dark, still, reflecting only the moon. Anna pulled a folded piece of paper from her jacket. "What's that?" I asked. "A letter I wrote myself last year, the night after the wedding." She handed it to me. "You want to read it?" I shook my head. "Only if you want to share." She unfolded it slowly. I wrote, "I don't know how to be okay again. I don't know if love is real or just a trick people tell themselves. But I want to believe there's more than this pain. I want to believe someone out there will see me, not as broken, but as someone worth beginning with." She folded it again. "I never thought that someone would be you." I reached for her hand. "I never thought I'd find peace with the person I married in the ruins." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "We're not ruins anymore." "No," I said. "We're foundations." A breeze picked up, carrying the scent of sea salt and something new. The next morning, I opened my inbox to find an email from a local journalist. They were running a piece called Stories Rewritten, about people who turned tragedy into something good. They wanted to feature Chapter 2. Anna read the message over my shoulder. "Do we do it?" she asked. I thought about it. "We don't owe the world another version of us," I said. "But maybe someone needs to know you can go through fire and still plant something that grows." She smiled. "Then we do it." The article came out a week later. A photo of us outside the shop, smiling. Simple. The headline read, "They were left behind at the altar, so they married each other and started again." There were no comments under the post. No controversy. No backlash. Just silence. Peace. That afternoon, a woman came into the shop holding the newspaper. She was about Anna's age, worn but steady. "I read the article," she said. "I left my fiancé 3 months ago. He was like her." She didn't say the name. She didn't have to. "I thought I was broken," she added, "until I saw this place." Anna took her hand and led her to the back, to the little corner where the chairs were soft and the light was kind. Later I watched as they sat in silence, 2 women simply being. Not survivors, not victims, just people. Beginning. And I realized then, this wasn't just a story about betrayal or revenge. It was a story about becoming. And somehow, the ending wasn't an ending at all. It was a beginning, ours.